At 6 a.m. sharp, I'm standing on my front porch in nothing but an old t-shirt and coffee-stained sweatpants, staring at the scene unfolding in my driveway. White Lexus parked sideways blocking my exit, and Brenda Kowalski, president of the Willowbrook Estates HOA, screaming at the top of her lungs, "We'll seize your property by force." The stench of her desperation mixed with cheap perfume and last night's wine hung over the morning air like poison fog. Yeah, that's how my day started. But what Brenda didn't know, and what had me grinning in the face of her tantrum, was that I'd found the smoking gun. The one thing that could burn her entire kingdom down. All I had to do was bide my time. You ever wonder what you'd do if your neighbor just decided one day to declare war on your right to own your own land? I'm Dalton Martinez, 45, electrician contractor and certified survivor of HOA hell. Trust me, if you're watching this from anywhere with an HOA, you might want to stick around because what happened to me could happen to anybody. See, after my divorce, I'd had enough of apartment life, paper-thin walls, crying babies at all hours, and that humming AC unit that sounded like a chainsaw next to my bed. When I found this 1940s farmhouse on Meadowlark Road, 2.3 acres, $185,000, I thought I'd hit the lottery. Best Part County map said I was 50 feet outside the HOA boundary. No more angry notes about my work truck or where I park. Freedom, right? Yeah, I thought so too. The universe had other plans. Moving day, sweating buckets, trying to haul furniture before the September sun fried me here, comes a white Lexus gliding in like suburban royalty. Out steps Brenda Blonde Bob, so perfect it looked fake heels clicking, carrying a basket that screamed, "Welcome, peasant." The soaps in there cost more than my groceries, but tucked in the back was a stack of HOA paperwork and a note. Previous owner agreed to our community standards. We expect you'll do the same. Paint the house beige, hide your truck, lose the veggie garden, blah, blah, blah. I pointed at the property line 50 feet that way and said, "Thanks, but I'm not in your HOA." Her smile twitched just a little. Previous arrangements still apply. Community standards benefit everyone. That's when I got the first hint that Brenda didn't play by the rules. "There are always creative solutions," she said, voice syrupy sweet. "Just ask Mrs. Mela's family." The way she said creative, it sounded more like a threat than a suggestion. Something about the whole thing had my electrician's radar buzzing, so I called the county again. Nope, no HOA jurisdiction. But that night, just to cover my bases, I called up Margaret, Mrs. Mela's daughter, out in Portland. Turns out Brenda had made her mom's last year's a living hell fake violation notices, constant intimidation, and not-so-friendly inspections. And Brenda, she had a thing about expanding the HOA, needed more houses to solve a financial problem. Ding, ding, ding. From that day on, Brenda started her campaign. Every morning, white Lexus creeps by, snap photos of my yard, the garden, my truck. I felt bad for my neighbors. Living under Brenda was like having a prison warden with a real estate license. But I had no idea just how desperate she'd become or how far she'd go. 2 weeks in, I woke up to a bright yellow notice taped to my door. Government authority. Immediate compliance required. Looked official, smelled fishy. The crime-fixing 3 busted shutters, $150 a day violation allegedly. Next day, another ticket, commercial vehicle violation, for my own driveway. Then landscaping noncompliance, for not mowing every 4 days, all signed by Willowbrook Code Enforcement. But something didn't add up, the language, the timing, the whole thing felt off. I called the real code office. They hadn't issued a single citation. The seal clip art. Willowbrook Code Enforcement Division didn't even exist. That's impersonating a government official, a felony in most states. Brenda was officially off the deep end. That same afternoon, Brenda returned with Patricia Vance, HOA compliance coordinator. Patricia had the energy of a prosecutor at the UN measuring my hedges like she was searching for radioactive waste. Mailbox positioning inconsistent. Hedge exceeds standard by 3 inches. I almost laughed out loud. I told them to take their act and leave or I'd call the cops for harassment. That's when Brenda dropped the mask. Property values depend on cooperation, Mr. Martinez. It'd be a shame if your business reputation suffered. There it was. She was coming for my livelihood. I started documenting everything, photos, recordings, timestamps. I even recruited Tom, my neighbor down the street. He'd been through Brenda's circus, fake surveys, harassment over his basketball hoop, threats about his home business. She's gotten worse since that community center went up, Tom said. It's like she's got something to prove. Brenda's next play. Demanded a professional survey because county maps were outdated. Enter Rick, Brenda's brother-in-law, with surveying gear straight out of a middle school science fair. 10 minutes poking at my yard, he declared my shed and half my garden were on HOA land. That'll be $800 for the survey, he said. What's your license number, Rick? He looked like he'd seen a ghost and bolted, but Brenda doubled down. A week later, Rick was back, hard hat, clipboards, a couple assistants, real equipment rented, no doubt. This time, he claimed my property line ran 15 feet further inside than county maps. Professional folder, technical jargon, historic errors corrected the works. Except real surveyors spend days, not hours. And Rick's license, suspended for falsifying boundary reports in a divorce case. So I called in Jennifer Walsh, a real surveyor, credentials longer than a grocery list gear that looked like NASA made it. 2 days later, she handed me the results. My boundaries were exactly where the county said. But she also discovered the HOA entrance sign planted illegally on public easement. Sweet poetic justice. Brenda lost it, stormed over, demanded answers, threatened serious consequences. Jennifer just smiled and said, "Ma'am, your paperwork wouldn't hold up in traffic court, let alone property litigation." Brenda stomped off, plotting. But she wasn't done. Brenda weaponized the utilities. Suddenly, my irrigation was threatening critical access. 3 utility trucks parked on my grass, digging up my yard on her orders, found nothing wrong. Next came a gas leak at 6 a.m. Full hazmat response, 3 houses evacuated. No leak. Just an HOA president burning $340 in emergency fees and committing felony fraud. Then came the hydrology specialist Gary, the HVAC guy in disguise, claiming my garden was poisoning the neighborhood aquifer. I called a real scientist, state hydrologist, Dr. Sarah Kim. For $400, in a couple hours, she proved my garden was cleaner than Brenda's reputation. By then, I'd found a pattern. Brenda had done this to others, filing false reports, sabotaging anyone who pushed back. But it was Beverly Santos who gave me the final nudge. Ever check the HOA's own permits? I marched down to the county office and pulled 5 years' worth of records. What I found nearly made me drop the files. The Willowbrook Estates Community Center was built without proper permits. Storm drainage never approved, parking lot expansion illegal. But the real kicker, the place cost $340,000 to build, but the HOA only assessed homeowners $500 each, barely $100,000. Where'd the other $240,000 come from? Buried in court records, I found that the HOA had lost a massive lawsuit, $847,000 in legal fees, court costs, punitive damages. Ordered to pay immediately or face asset seizure. Brenda was fighting for her life, trying to rope in new properties to keep her sinking ship afloat. My house was supposed to be her golden ticket. I couldn't sit by. I got a lawyer, Marcus Webb, a guy who eats bureaucrats for breakfast. We built a case fraud impersonating government officials, harassment, financial concealment. Evidence piled up, audio recordings from Mrs. Mila's daughter, Brenda, confessing to fake citations and aggressive expansion. We called in Frank Morrison, ex-city council, and Sarah Kim from Channel 7 News. The town was about to blow. The town was. But Brenda fought back harder. She called my client, spread rumors, filed complaints with the state licensing board, insurance, even the IRS. Every day brought a new fire to put out business reputation, even immigration. Never mind, my family's been in Cleveland since before the Civil War. She was desperate and dangerous, and then she broke. At 6 a.m., she blocks my driveway, screaming, "You will submit. We'll seize your property." Neighbors gawking from windows, police called Brenda having a full-on meltdown. Officer Rodriguez, professional as always, tells her, "Ma'am, you have no authority here." That was the final straw. Annual HOA meeting, standing room only, Channel 7 cameras, rolling, legal files in hand. Brenda tried to bluff through, but Margaret and I laid it all out. Hidden debt, failed lawsuits, financial records, video of Brenda's threats. The crowd erupted, immediate vote of no confidence audit. Brenda stripped of power and hit with restraining orders. 6 weeks later, Brenda was out, probation, restitution, banned from ever running an HOA again. The debt dropped. The community center saved new leadership, installed monthly financial statements, open voting, real transparency. Tom won the presidency. Beverly became the city's watchdog. Margaret moved back. We even set up a scholarship for kids to study municipal law and public service. Brenda sold her house to pay her debts, left town in shame. The rest of us, we celebrate Transparency Day every year now, picnics, legal workshops, the works. I sip my coffee on the porch, honeysuckle in the air, and think about how close I came to losing it all. Not just my land, but my peace, my business, my sanity. The lesson: corruption hides in plain sight, and sunlight's the best disinfectant. So you ever dealt with a nightmare HOA or a power-tripping neighbor? Drop your story in the comments. Hit subscribe if you want more tales where the little guy wins, because sometimes, just sometimes, David really does beat Goliath. And let me tell you, tonight's coffee tastes a whole lot like freedom.